All right, we are recording. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to Roll to Talk, another D&D podcast of the internet, but we just want to talk about our favorite game because who doesn't love talking about D&D? So, hi there. My name is Dice&Autism. I tell stories on the internet. I go by he, they, and everything. And I am joined by my lovely co-host. Say hi, co-host.
Hi, co-host. I am Wittyxwitch. I use she, they pronouns. You can find me on the internet at Wittyxwitch. I'm also on the director team for the Dragon Con tabletop track. So that's my cool cred.
Oh, I'm trying to decide if we can swear. Yeah, we can swear on this. Oh, shit! Oh, yeah. That's awesome. I didn't know that. How's that going?
It goes. Dragon Con's over, so I'm free for several months now. So it's just a matter of when we kick back up again.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so for our debut episode and everything, we are going to be talking about something that is very important when you're doing D&D or any tabletop RPG system, and that is safety tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is very, very important, and especially it's grown over the years and everything, seeing how it kind of like started with like people kind of like saying like giving out the basics and everything, like, all right, what are we cool with, what are we not with? And you have like Montica Games coming in with like the RPG consent checklist, and it was like,
which is awesome.
Oh, it is so cool. When I found that, I was like, oh, this is so good. This is brilliant, and it's also for free. It's for free, so there's no excuses out there. And just how now we have like safety coordinators when it comes to like actual play productions and everything, and like everyone making sure everyone's kosher and stuff. It's just fantastic and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool that we have these like basically these intimacy coordinators on these actual plays, on these professional productions, which I think is very interesting in how that sort of come about, especially in like Hollywood as well, with like Game of Thrones having kind of bad practice on set, and now an intimacy coordinator is pretty standard on most film and TV productions, and now that is bled into also actual play TTRPG production as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there's also intimacy coordinators for like theater and stuff, because I'm also a theater person, and we had like some theater intimacy coordinators for a show and everything, and they're really, really cool. And I was just like, I got to pick their brains a little bit, and they're just like super cool, and they just want everyone to be safe and everything. And yeah, I think for me, it's just like really, really nice because TTRPGs, when you're playing a TTRPG, you're just very immersed in the world. The wall between like yourself and your character is like one flexible waterbed wall or something.
I love the image of the waterbed going with the flow.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that too is sort of an issue because your character has a different experience than you have, and vice versa. But so many of us put so much of ourselves into our characters, and even if the character is we're trying to play something completely opposite of us, that is still putting yourself into that character and what you maybe wish you could be or what you can't be, and like your hopes and dreams are in that, even if it's very antithetical to what you are yourself. And so it's very important to have these safety tools because those consciousness streams, for lack of a better example, can get crossed very, very easily. And so like that's where that really comes in, is to make sure that you are safe and that you do not accidentally hurt yourself. Because, I mean, your character... Your DM is going to hurt your character. That's kind of part of the...
with consent.
Yeah, with consent. But that is kind of part of the territory when it comes to games like Dungeons & Dragons or Call of Cthulhu, or these games that are kind of built around that, versus more cozy games such as like Wander Home or Tea Time Adventures.
Yeah, definitely. And it depends on like how much safety tools you're going to be putting into like a game, whether it's like a one shot, then it's kind of like, all right, we're just going to put in like the basic stuff because we're not going to go too immersed in everything. It's a mini campaign, then it's like, all right, we're going to put a moderate amount to make sure to like everything is all good. But if it's a full length campaign, you're going to have to be very, very thorough. You're going to have to be very thorough so that way everyone is like doing good and stuff. And I think also everyone should have like a session 0 where people kind of like talk about like their hard lines with the players and stuff, so the players
Absolutely.
also know. So that way, everyone at the table is on like equal footing to be like, all right, this is what we can and cannot do. So.
And also, like, if you're doing a one-shot in particular, I hope no one can hear the plastic that I'm opening.
It's all good.
But anyway, but if you're doing a one-shot, especially in person, one thing I highly recommend is the deck of player safety, which is I'm opening my copy of right now.
Ooh, cool. Where'd you get that?
I got it from a meetup, and I met the creator, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Okay.
But we can put that in our description later. But anyway, and so basically it has X cards included. It has common safety things. It has anything goes. So if you are a person who says, yeah, anything goes, you just pull that card and you put it in your deck. If it has spiders, sexual innuendo, rats, kidnapping, imprisonment, human trafficking. And then it has these blank cards that you can dry erase right anything that is not already listed.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it is an excellent piece of, like, an excellent tool to have at your table, especially if you're doing in person and you really want to, rapid fire get into it and start playing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Whereas, like you said, if you're doing a longer campaign, you need to be pretty thorough.
Yep.
And so the intention there is you probably do need to go through the checklist, and you need to have the session 0 to talk about, okay, here's what we are cool with, here's what we need to handle with care, which would be your veils, because we haven't mentioned that yet, our lines and veils.
Yeah.
And then there are things that are just, go nuts. But these are great for, like, Adventurers League, in-person one-shots, and I don't know if there's a way to do this digitally, but I'll have to look into that. I'm sure there is a method to do this digitally with a deck of player safety.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, definitely when things like safety tools, like, oh, we're doing like a funny one-shot and everything, we don't really need to go to safety tools and stuff. I still think you kind of like need to do like your safety tools if you're doing a lighthearted comedy one-shot, because people will sometimes be like firing jokes left and right for like, because you're shooting the shit with your friends and everything. But you also just want to like be wary of like some jokes that people may not be like comfortable with and everything, so just be kind of like meh.
And I think too that's really important to cover that, because like, for example, I was in a game one time where someone had, like, their character wielded a rapier, and the number of times I heard, oh, rape ear, and I was like, stop. And then we got to, oh, there's these flaming braziers, and they're like, oh, brazier, and I was like, stop it. And so like I think that even when you're doing just kind of a shoot the shit silly goofy one shot, so especially for millennials, I think a lot of our humor that when we were teenagers was kind of based on, informed by shows like Tosh.0 and these comedians that really weren't that funny.
Nope.
And most of that comedy was built off of sexism and ableism and not necessarily so much racism, but there was a lot of like racial stereotyping that really wasn't okay. And so you do kind of have to cover which jokes are off limits.
Yes.
And maybe you do have someone at your table who is ace and isn't comfortable with sexual innuendo, whereas everybody else might think that's very funny, or maybe there's a line that you need to discuss just to say this is the line.
Yeah. Definitely. It with something like that and everything, it's like, it's because like I like will just like, I'll hear some jokes and some people will say, and I'm just kind of like, I'll be silently like, I was playing some like real tabletop RPGs at a store once and everything, and some of the jokes that people were saying, I was just like, and I just I wanted to like look at the DM and just kind of like give out the X, but I just feel like I didn't want to be the party pooper about that, and I feel like that's kind of like the anxiety stigma I think some people might have when like trying to like deliver party tools, safety tools to up to a party and everything, because I feel like they don't want to be that party pooper or like the fun police and everything. But I think it's like, I think a way to like reframe that is like, you're not being the fun police. You're being the fun coordinator. You're like, all right, this this is your playground. We're not going to have dangerous barbed wires in the playground because who wants to play with barbed wires with that? No, 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 no.
You are the one that's making sure everybody has fun because you are at that table too. And one thing I think is very important to remember as people go to either tables with their friends or tables with strangers at conventions or whatever the system dynamic might be, is that if you are playing at a table with your friends, these are your friends and they should care about your comfort and your joy. So if you are not having fun and you are... and you tap that X card and your friends say, oh, you're being a party pooper, get better friends. They're probably not your friends.
Yeah.
And if you are at a convention and you don't know these people, tap that X card. You're probably never going to see them again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it is a DM's job to make sure everyone is like safe and happy and everything, just to make sure, because you're leading this herd of like ADHD cats and everything. So you're just like gotta make sure everyone
I love the implication that everyone who plays TTRPGs has ADHD. And you know what? You're right.
It is something that my actual play group and I will always say when we're like doing our sessions and stuff. Because we're very much kind of like go off one thing to the other, and there's always like one person who's like, all right, we gotta herd the cats back in, herd them in.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But I another good tool to use and everything is Stars and Wishes or Roses and Thorns and everything. Those I love to bits. Because it also kind of like gives feedback from everybody to like, all right, here's the stuff we were cool with in the session. Here's stuff that was like, burp, and then here's some stuff we could probably wish for like future stuff. And that's like a nice little roadmap to have to like for the DM to plan out and kind of like, all right, cool. And you can also like always evolutionary check on people's like consents and like lines and veils and stuff, because they change from time to time and everything.
Exactly. I love Stars and Wishes, mostly because I was a Sailor Moon kid, so I like stars over roses, just as a personal flavor element.
Oh yeah.
But the thing I love about Stars and Wishes is I have fully planned sessions based on what my players said were their wishes and their stars.
Ooh, yeah.
Because it builds it for you. Oh, you want more combat?
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, you want more role play? Well, here's the narrative hooks I can give you to then start role playing. The only one that I've always been kind of like, oh no, is they're like, oh, we want more NPCs. I'm like, I'm already doing so many NPCs. What more do you want from me?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love them to bits because it was like grasping at straws, because I'm very much of an improv DM. I can go with the flow and anything, but it's like I wanted to make sure everyone was like enjoying the stuff and flavors that they usually like prefer in their D&D TTRPG games. So it's like makes it easier and stuff. And also it's nice to like when your players are like, all right, cool, or like, hey DM, we appreciate the stories that you're going with and everything, but they're kind of touching on subjects that might be a little bit too much, so probably reel that back in. And it's like, and it's important to like not to like take offense to that or anything or be defensive. It's important just to be like, yeah, I goofed up a little bit, I got some mud in my shoes, but we're gonna clean that off.
So speaking of, we've sort of talked a little bit about lines and veils, but I think we need to talk about what they are first.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, so lines and veils are basically stuff that you are. It's kind of like a simplified version of the consent checklist. They're basically of like. They're also kind of like the fourth. I'm rambling here.
Do you want me to take it?
Yes.
So your lines are your hard do not cross list. Yes. Like for me, this is stuff like cancer, because I've had I've lost people to cancer, and it just it doesn't need to be in my game.
Yeah.
It also has to do with like sexual assault for me, and sexism. You know, if there's one bad guy who's like little girl, that's fine. But if we're gonna have like embedded sexism into this society, I don't want to play.
Yeah.
So those are my examples of my lines, for example. And so lines are the do not cross, do not pass go, do not collect 200.
Yep.
We're not including these.
Yeah.
Whereas your veils are things where you kind of maybe want like a fade to black. And this is very common in romances, whether it be PC to PC, PC to NPC, NPC to NPC. Most people don't want to role play getting hot and heavy.
Oh no.
Getting down and dirty, you know, whatever the kids want to call it these days. Most people don't want to role play that. And so that's where you often have a fade to black, a very just tasteful, and you kiss, and now we wake up in the next morning, and that's it. Yeah. You think of veils as like those old Hollywood rules that you could not show on screen, and so they did a lot of ways to get around that and imply what they were trying to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So, the other thing that I like to include, though, it's sort of tangential to veils, is cradles. Things that can be talked about, but things to handle with care.
Okay.
And so this, for example, I play a lot in the Dragon Age system.
Yeah.
I love those video games. I love that tabletop game.
Same.
Obsessed. Well, the Dragon Age lore includes quite a bit of slavery.
Oh, yeah.
And so for a lot of people, slavery is a hard line, do not cross. In which case, we will adapt. We will either play exclusively in an area of Thedas that does not have slavery, or we just won't play that game, period. But if we are planning on a game that goes to Vinter, which in lore is a wide practicer of slavery, then that is a conversation to have with my players, especially those who have maybe history with that. And you know, like, especially in the US with chattel slavery, like, you have to be very, very careful, especially if you want to have a diverse table. And so that is something that we handle with care, that we ask our players, what do you need from this for it to be worth it? What do you not want to see within this context? And so those, I like to add cradles to my list as well.
I've never heard of cradles. That is so dope.
It's my absolute favorite piece of safety tools.
Yeah, and I think it's also with stuff like that, with lined veils and cradles and everything, I think it's also important to like read the room for your table and be like, all right, what kind of game are we playing here? What's the heaviness of it and everything? Because there are heavy systems out there that deals a lot of heavy stuff, like the Dragon Age TTRPG. That's like, and like there's also like the Warhammer TTRPGs, which is a very like dark sci-fi thing, and not a lot of people can like handle the darkness and everything. So it's like, okay, we'll play something a little bit different. Honey Trap, Ryutama, who wants to be goofy?
I mean, there are so many tabletop games out there too that are based in some capacity in a historical setting. Whether it's, you know, a lot of Call of Cthulhu is often set in historical settings. You can do a Monster of the Week in history as well. And so that's a very important thing to talk about, is how much of the real history do we want in this game? Or do we want this to be kind of an alternate history where sexism and racism never existed?
Yeah, that is very important when you're doing like your settings for it and everything, because there will be some people out there who will be like, oh, it just makes the world realistic and everything, but nobody wants that. No. Just get that out of there, put it in the trash.
Yeah, and some people do want that, in which case, talk to your table.
Yeah, definitely.
But as far as like check-ins, you know, as our lines, veils, and cradles shift and change over time, because we either have new traumas or we've gone to therapy and worked them out. It doesn't matter. Whatever is changing in your life to then change how you approach the table. There is nothing wrong with redoing session 0.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And also in game, within the session itself, whenever you finish a scene or a role play and basically you get the and scene shift, check in. Just say, hey, are we all good? Do we need to talk about anything?
Yeah.
Get thumbs up. Okay, moving on. Oh, no, we're not good? Let's talk about it. Let's take 10.
Yeah, definitely. I have done that with my AP. It was just like after like an important scene has happened and everything, because we had a character death and everything, and character's death can be very, very intense. So like I checked in with them, and it was like, if we needed to go to break and everything, put like an ad break and everything, we'll do it. And then it was just like, no, we're good. We're just crying. It was like, okay, cool.
Right. Right. Are they tears because, oh my gosh, it was so good and emotional, or are they tears because you, the player, are upset?
Yeah.
But on that, we should talk about aftercare.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, aftercare. I I feel like aftercare kind of like gets bundled up with like stars and wishes and everything, but also just kind of like having like a nice cooldown of like 15 minutes or so of just kind of like everyone talking about the campaign and everything, and just kind of like taking off that mask and being like, "Well, that was a crazy session and everything," and just like also rechecking in and everything, all that, and making sure everyone's good and stuff is also very, very important.
I like to, whenever I'm playing in person, whenever I expect a session to get pretty heavy,
Yeah.
either sad or, possibly like triggering in some capacity, like obviously not like triggering,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
something that could really like get to people in some capacity. I like to have snacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Like designated after game snacks.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We don't touch these until we're done.
Ooh, okay.
And when I DM, and I do this when I play too, but I mostly do it when I DM because the DM crash is so hard.
Oh, it is.
Because you've been so on and you've been so animated and you've been prepping and you've been stressing and now you're done. And then you just pew.
It is an adrenaline drop.
Exactly. You literally have an adrenaline crash.
Yep.
But I have I have like a morning cereal, which is my Cheerios, and I have a night cereal, which is Wheaties.
Ooh, okay.
And so whenever I'm having DM crash, I will go get a bowl of Wheaties. I call them my wind down Wheaties.
Love it. Yeah, yeah, definitely. For me, whenever I know I'm going to have a heavy session and everything, I always check in with the players and like before, like a week before and everything. Like, hey,
Absolutely.
next section is going to be pretty heavy and everything. Just want to check in. Do we have enough spoons for like for this heavy session and stuff? And if like people will say yes, they're good, or if people will say no, I'd be like, all right, cool, we can do a slice of life episode. That's all good. We can push this. We can push that back until we're absolutely 100%.
And I think like I'm a big prepper when I game master. Being more prepped helps me improv better.
Oh yeah.
And shift gears if I need to, because I still know what's going on and who these people are, independent of just what's in my head at that moment.
Yeah.
That said, I do feel like slice of lifes are a lot easier to just completely make up on the fly.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, they're just a lot of fun, and just from the amount of slice of life animes I've watched, I feel like it's just become second nature and everything. So.
And there, it's beach episodes, shopping episodes.
Yeah.
You can easily come up with, whatever. And this is part of why I love the Dragon Age TTRPG. They have tables for anything you could possibly need.
Yeah.
There's like pins, a mirror, like cups. Like you can go buy your own cups. And I'm just there's a table, there's a shopping table for everything you could possibly think of, and if they didn't think of it, you can find a comparable item pretty easy and quickly. And that said, like that makes it a lot easier to improv that, and I just port those tables over to when I play D&D as well.
Oh, that is very, very good, and it's also kind of like refreshing for like the DM just to be kind of like lax it up a little bit. It's like, all right, I don't have to spin so many plates and everything, so it's also a nice refresher for the DM. So.
Exactly.
Hey. Let's see. Okay, we talked about a lot of we talked about lines and veils. We talked about the X card and everything. Stars and wishes. I think the only other 60 tool that I can think of is like the red card, green card, and yellow card. But that's kind of like in the same line of like the X card and everything. Or,
yeah, I mean that is sort of the same deal, but I think it is still very helpful to know, because different things work for different folks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And for X card, for example, for some people it's a physical card in the middle of the table if you get to play in person. Again, incredibly useful for live plays at like conventions and Adventurers League, West Marches style.
Yeah.
A lot of people also will like either have a card that they can throw up, or they can just cross their hands, cross their arms, look that way. And that's really handy for like virtual tables, especially if you need people to like see what's up. Because your DM might not always see your private message to them that says, hey friend, getting kind of hard, can we slow down? They might not see that because they've, like you said, have so many plates spinning already.
Yeah.
So you have to do something that will at least be visible to somebody, because maybe you're not comfortable saying, hey, can we stop for a second? But maybe another player at that table is.
Yeah.
So you can always throw your arms up, throw your card up, and someone else at the table might say, "Hey, we need to pause. Abby needs to talk." Or whatever. But your red, yellow, green is also helpful because, especially if you're talking about stuff that you've already established as a line, or not a line, as a veil or a cradle. Because then you can like, your DM can kind of look to you and be like, "Hey, is this good? Are we doing okay?" And you can throw up your green card to say, "Yeah, I'm doing great. Let's keep on going." Or your yellow to say, "Let's maybe slow it down a little bit. Let's maybe cool it." And then your red to say, "Stop. Let's."
Yeah, that's the instant feedback that helps out and everything.
And I think too, one thing I really hope people take away from the concept of safety tools, from hopefully this episode, us talking about it, is that as a DM and as the players, because it's not just the DM's responsibility, it is everybody at that table.
Yes.
And there is no shade, even in a production, to just stop and wait and check in. And if you're doing this on like a live stream or recording, cut it out of the recording. Go on break for your live stream. Do not have this vulnerable conversation for the masses to hear. That has happened to me before.
Content creators, listen, do not air the personal grievances and emotional stuff for the views. Do not, no.
And if you do that, your players are right to leave you.
Yep. Very, very much so. That has not happened, but I'm just like, oh god.
and I think too, like, this isn't the stage where we've had, time to prep and practice our lines and block our choreography and work together and build a rapport and a chemistry where if something goes amiss, the show must go on. This is not that scenario. Nope. This is all improv. Most of us are not professionals. Most of the people you're going to call to your table, maybe they are getting paid in some capacity, but it's not to the same degree as, a professional actor.
Yes.
Take your time. Your stream will survive the 5 to 10 minutes it takes to check in with your players and your DM.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
And if it doesn't survive that, it probably wasn't that good to begin with. Sorry. Let me get under the table before all the pitchforks start flying.
No. I feel like that's a good take. I will defend you right there. I will have my own giant hammer and be like, "Come at me, fuckers!"
Yes.
Yeah. Because well, I think that's an episode for another time. But I stop for a topic for another time. But yeah, not every person needs an AP production. Not all home games to be live streamed and everything. Because if you don't put in the work to like make sure everyone is safe and like we could put up the walls to make sure everyone's safe, along with like the chat members who are watching the streams and everything, or the community members, don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah.
And we can do an episode another day about live plays and podcast tips and tricks.
Yeah. All right, we are nearing the end of the episode here. Was there any other like last minute stuff that we want to like fire off or anything?
Other than you should definitely get the deck of player safety. This goes for everybody, and I will get the creator of that to dice before we post this.
Yeah, definitely, because we support the homies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you've had a lovely, lovely time. Please go check out our stuff and everything, especially Wittyxwitch, because they deserve all the cool stuff. We support the homies always. So, you guys have a fantastic time, and we'll see you guys in the next episode, okay? All right, guys. Peace.